you just feel like your whole body's being crushed. All the weight on your hips and your legs and your ankles, your bones.
Mr. Tim Peake.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Great to be here again.
You lived in space. Like, that'll never get boring.
No, never.
I think I asked you before, is it weird because you sleep kind of upright? Is it weird because, or being upside down, and you're like, well, there's kind of no upside down because it's all relative.
Yeah, we actually have a floor and a ceiling on the space station, and the only reason is for sort of psychological reasons. So it's quite nice. As humans, we like to kind of be orientated, so we do have a floor and a ceiling, but you don't need to. Yeah. I was sleeping in the floor. My crew quarter was in the deck, and then we had 2 in the walls, 1 in the ceiling. So you can sleep in any orientation. Doesn't matter.
It's so interesting.
How long were you in space for?
6 months. Yeah.
Right.
Almost bang on to the day.
See, I feel that because I was in Stoke for a year.
Right. But that's from now until Christmas, and you're in space for that entire time. That's just...
When I got on board, Scott Kelly was there. He was our commander at the time, and he was already 8 months into his year-long stay. Really? So I kind of saw him through to the end of his year, and even on the last day, he was in the cupola with a camera, taking photos, didn't want to leave, didn't want to go home.
When do you think you might be going back?
2025 is probably the kind of time frame to think about.
Ask Tim about the dangers of space junk. Is that a thing?
That's a real thing. Yeah. There are thousands or hundreds of thousands of pieces of space debris up there. Some of them human-made, some of them natural, micrometeorites and stuff. And our ground radars can see a lot of it, but they're not that good. We can't really see much that's less than 5 centimeters. So anything bigger than 5 centimeters, we're tracking.
Right.
But the space station's got some bulletproof shielding around it that will probably protect you to about 1, maybe 2 centimeters if you're lucky. So between 2 and 5 centimeters, we can't see it, and it would just rip straight through the space station. So it's a little bit of a lottery going on. So space debris is a huge problem, and we do not want to introduce any more space debris. But the problem are all those tiny, tiny fragments of space debris. How do you get rid of all of that? Is it some sort of magnetic system, some sort of net system, and kind of sweep up, vacuum clean space, and let's clean up our space environment?
That could be our route into space. We need to come up with a way.
Big vacuum cleaner.
Big massive hoovers.
Clearing space junk, yeah. Graham, who is walking the dog, says, Tim, do you think that somewhere out there in the ever-expanding universe there is intelligent life?
Absolutely.
Yes!
Whoa, do you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, just looking at the numbers, looking at it from a scientific point of view, we think there's about 200 billion stars in the Milky Way. And already in our local vicinity, we're finding thousands and thousands of planets around other stars that we can now see. And many of those planets are in what we call the Goldilocks zone. So that's where water can exist in liquid form, which at the moment we're assuming that, that's the basis of life, or that you could have some sort of silicon-based life form. But so there are thousands of planets around in our local vicinity, potentially, that could harbour life. But even if you said really conservatively, we are the only advanced civilization in the Milky Way.
It's a bit big-headed, isn't it?
There's still 200, it's very big-headed, and there's 200 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. So if there's only one per galaxy, then, hey, there's 200 trillion advanced life forms out there. And the solar system itself is full of water. We've got loads of water floating around the solar system. Right. We know that. We capture, outside the space station, we have some aerogel, and we have experiments that capture micrometeorites. And when you investigate what's inside them, there's organic compounds. So we know the seeds of life are floating around the solar system. And you think if that's replicated in many, many other star systems, then the chances of biogenesis of life occurring on another planet are extremely high. Yeah. I do think complex life is much more rare, because if you just, again, look at Earth, we had single-celled life forms after about 1 billion years, but then it took another 3 billion years for complex life to evolve. So I think that step from single-cell to complex life is much more rare. But even so, there's got to be intelligent life out there.
Fee has a great question, which is it easier adjusting going up into space or coming back down to Earth?
For me, coming back down was really, really painful. So going into space, I was very lucky. I mean, some people suffer with space sickness for days and days, and I on the first day threw up once, and but not feeling sick. It was really bizarre. Just kind of like your stomach just says, "Oh, hang on a second, something's really weird and wrong." So just go and empty it, and then crack on. And that was it. Never a problem.
Right.
Coming back down to Earth for about 3 days, I just felt like I had the worst hangover in the world. It was just dreadful. It wouldn't go.
How did you get back down?
I got back down on the same spacecraft that took me. So we always do that. It's like our lifeboat. It stays with us. And if there's ever an emergency, we jump in it and come back. So it was the Soyuz spacecraft that took me there and brought me back down.
And does that land?
It lands on land,
Yeah.
yeah. Because some of the spacecraft now are landing on water, planning to go back to water landings. But no, the Soyuz is on land, so it's a pretty hard landing.
So when it lands and then you get out of your seat, if that moment of you trying to stand up, you've not had to do that for 6 months.
Yeah.
Is that you
That
must be
must
all
be-
falling out like you're leathered? It
It's
must
like
be
you're
like
being
closing
crushed
time at
down.
the pub.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really weird, and all of your, you just feel like your whole body's being crushed. That all the weight on your hips and your legs and your ankles, your bones. You're not used to that, and so we do. The exercises we do on the space station do try and replicate some of that, so it's not a complete shock to the body.
The Chris